The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Green Acres and our guests. These general gardening tips and suggestions may work for you, as well as those from alternative sources. When using any garden products or tools, read and follow all labeled directions. And learn how to make your yard summer strong at bewatersmart.info.
The Green Acres Garden Podcast is the podcast dedicated to helping gardeners hone their growing skills while we celebrate our love of plants. So whether you're new to growing or a seasoned gardener, you're sure to learn something new. Join the fun as we have conversations with world-class growers, passionate green thumbs, and professional garden experts from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Listen every week. We'll answer questions you didn't know you had. The way we grow, here we grow, everybody. Time to cultivate some garden love and a little bit of knowledge along the way. I am your host, Kevin Jordan, the cultivator kid himself. We have a wonderful topic this week. Before we get into it, I got to say hello to Austin on the microphone. What's up, Austin?
Hello, my buddy Kevin. Welcome to all of our listeners out there. Welcome back to the show. It's the best time of the week. We're getting into it. And Kevin, what do you got there? You got something in your hand.
So I brought you in a treat. So we have a great topic. We're going to talk all about how to lure in pollinators to the garden. But before we get into the pollinator madness, which I love, I brought you a little treat from the garden, freshly cured, harvested. This is garlic, bud. That is
big garlic.
Fall planted, quite closely, 4-inch spacing one direction, about 5 to 6 inches the other direction. So really tightly planted garlic. Is it big?
Oh, this is big. It's actually got some weight to it.
It's very
too.
dense. It's cured up. What color is that, bud?
It's got purple all over it. So does that mean it's the elephant garlic?
It's not elephant garlic.
Oh,
no, it's a proper garlic. It's a hard neck.
I feel it.
Yeah, it's delicious.
This is
purple
good.
Variety.
Dang, I can't wait to cook with this.
Yeah. That'll be delicious.
You helped me plant a bunch of garlic last fall, and I harvested it a few weeks ago, and it's been curing and drying. I'm going to go get you my biggest one and
a little
see
garlic swap.
if
I like
can
it.
swap with you.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I'm going to cook with it later tonight.
Nice.
I have a clove at home as well, or a head of garlic, and cannot wait, man. That takes us from the edible side of the gardening to this week's, which I think we haven't talked enough about this. Today's topic is as important as irrigation, as mulch, as fertilizing, pruning, all of that. And what I'm talking about is bringing in pollinators to our gardens, our landscapes, into our communities and feeding them, housing them if needed, right? We got to give habitat and food and forage for the pollinators. What's a pollinator, you might ask? That's any organism that actually moves pollen from one flower to another. As gardeners and growers, we love this for a number of reasons. For us, even at the most selfish reason, it just increases our harvest. Little less than almost around half the food we eat, or maybe a little less or a little more, depending upon your diet, all is traced back to a pollinator. So we need these pollinators in our lives. We depend on them in so many different ways. And I'm talking about bats, bees, butterflies, even small mammals can be pollinators. Moths, birds, of course, flies, and even beetles can make awesome pollinators. So in today's episode, we're going to discuss a lot of different methods that you can approach to your garden. And we're talking about no spraying, reducing how much we actually put into our garden. I know we're always discussing organic control methods, Austin, right?
But what does that mean really in this context?
We want to get to only spraying an organic spray if you absolutely need it. And in some cases, hopefully having a garden where you don't spray at all. And for pollinators, they love that because sometimes when we're trying to target what we call the bad bugs, sometimes you can get, collateral damage.
That's the food for the good bugs sometimes, right?
Absolutely. So as we learned, most of the insects in our garden are either good for our garden or just neutral, and they're not harmful at all. It's a very small, little group. So for us, we want the insects.
I like that. And I like how you mentioned it's more than the classics, right? We always think about bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds as like the three main pollinators, but it's really so much more than that.
Yeah, for sure. Moths, other birds, not just the hummingbirds, but there's tons of different species of birds, flies, beetles. California has over 1,600 native bees. So I know we've had episodes. We love our honey. We love the honeybees too. But native bees are really, when you're planting a garden, we want to keep them in mind because if we can feed the native bees, all the better. We have over 200 species of moths in California.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to give you some plant ideas and selections as well. We're going to go over ground covers, annuals, perennials, shrubs, vines, herbs, and even trees that can help you lure in some pollinators. What do you think, Austin?
I love it. I'm so excited. I like how you've broken them down, too. So let's go ahead and start with your first category, ground cover, Kevin. What is a good ground cover that I wouldn't even think a ground cover would attract pollinators?
Absolutely. Well, ground covers are so good in the garden. We saw a few weeks back over at our friend's house where she was using ground cover, kind of like a living mulch to suppress the weeds, cool the roots. So all for those reasons, I'm on board. Creeping thyme, I'd say, is my number one go-to for a ground cover that is going to spread out. Once it gets established, it can be drought tolerant, but bees and butterflies, creeping thyme, it's aromatic, it smells good. Really pretty little plant as well. But another one that's kind of very similar to that is Teucrium or Germander. You can get a creeping variety, very pretty, and it has similar qualities to creeping thyme where once established, it's pretty drought tolerant, long bloom period, and it is an absolute magnet for pollinators and especially bees. So I love those as ground covers. Once they get going, they just take right off.
Got it. Now, I do want to just take a pause just for a moment, Kevin, because I want to ask you about the way that you're referring to some of these plants. Now, you've mentioned Teucrium, then you also said or Germander. Now, you're talking about the same plant.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. So Teucrium is the botanical name, and then Germander is the common name. I should just say Germander, I guess.
Well, I mean, we're going to discuss a lot of plants. So what do you think is the best way to communicate these?
I'll try to use the common name when I can if it's one that's very common.
Okay.
Right? But if it's a plant that maybe we don't know, like if I said like spinewort or something that maybe you don't know, maybe I'll give you the botanical. What's nice is, but the botanical names are really what gardeners truly want to learn because it doesn't matter where you go in the world or what language you speak. If you can speak that language, you can, a salvia is a salvia is a salvia. However, we will say sage all day long. Okay. So we'll try to do both, but I'll try to keep it simple for those at home. And we'll try to do our best with keeping the names simple. So, for instance, can we move on to annuals?
Yeah, what are your annuals?
So annuals are those flowers that we pop in, and they look great for a number of months, and then they go from seedling to flower to seed, and then we move on with them. These are the ones that bring in all that seasonal color. I've been talking about them all last week. Cosmos in our garden, the Calendulas, the Zinnias, they are great for pollinators as well. For me, one that is just a staple in the summer garden because it can take the heat. It'll bloom from summer into fall. You can have some that are edible, some that are just ornamental. And of course, I'm talking about sunflowers. They're really easy to grow. They're nectar rich. You can have small little short ones that, are knee high. And you can grow the Mongolian giants that would tower over, your house, even maybe 13, 14 feet tall, blossoms 2 feet across. So they provide a lot of nectar for creatures, but it also provides seed for birds. You'll see them come in, squirrels as well. But sunflowers, just an easy
and for
plant.
Us, we can eat that too.
Absolutely. You know it, buddy.
You know what's cool with sunflowers too is like my neighbor at my community garden plot grew a bunch of them. And at first I was like, oh, that's going to block my sun. But it's actually perfectly in the right spot to give me a little afternoon shade. And it kind of is relieving some of my crops. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of perfect. Thanks, buddy, for planting those sunflowers.
You know what? That happened kind of on accident for you. But that's a strategy people will use where you plant something on that, that far side, that east side, that will hopefully capture some of that late afternoon sun and provide a little bit of, a little stress reduction.
Yep.
For some of our plants.
Are cool for that.
They're rad. I love them. But one that may even be an even larger, this is a proper magnet for pollinators, bees especially, and its name says it all, bee balm.
Bee balm?
It is the balm for bees. Bee balm, like lip balm. It is aromatic. It's just bees, butterflies, hummingbirds. I mean, they love all of it. The 3 Bs.
Ooh, okay. So bee balm, I don't really know this one. I just Google searched it, and then there's pictures of hummingbirds going at it. These are really pretty. These have kind of frilly flowers of
little pom-poms.
Yeah,
almost.
like bright reds and purples. These are really nice. I like that.
They're a great one, and you'll see it once you have it in the garden. I mean, everything wants to go visit the bee balm for sure. So those are some of my favorite annuals for attracting them. Actually, there's so many more, but I can't list them all because I would just be here listing all the beautiful plants that I love. But those are a few. But honestly, if people are interested in just having a seasonal pollinator garden, those annuals are a great starter point because you can plant from seed off a lot of these that we talked about, the sunflowers, the cosmos, the zinnia. All of those are great from planting from seed, and you can have a fun time with them.
Right on. Yeah, I would say that I was pretty impressed with the zinnias we saw last week at we visited Between Two Shrubs.
I saw the video. They look good.
School garden, yeah. The zinnias, I was just blown away by those. Those really pop.
Once it's warm out, they just start going, and there's a lot of different varieties. And
I'm surprised they're 4 feet tall. They're like out there.
Great for bouquets, cut flowers, or just have them in the garden and just
that was awesome.
Enjoy them.
Okay, so that's you've hit ground cover and annuals. So I figure you've got some perennials you'd like to recommend as well.
Oh yeah, so these perennials, those are the plants you plant and they keep coming back year after year. And so of course I got to start with just lavender. I mean, there's so many varieties. We've talked about lavender so much on the show. It's because it is such a hardy plant. It's drought tolerant. It's climate adapted. There's a lot of varieties and cultivars to choose from.
It smells good.
And it smells amazing, and the bees absolutely love it. So for me, that's just a no-brainer. A great place to start. One that I know that you and I both love is coneflower or echinacea.
Yeah.
Right? Echinaceas, they're just long blooming period.
It's the flower shape that's so unique.
It's
looking.
rad.
I love it.
It's like a pin cushion. Like so, the center on a coneflower echinaceas, very prickly looking, like a hedgehog's backside. But then the petals are color. I mean, you get pinks and purples and just a huge red and a lot of variety of color. And they really stand out in the garden. And that big, massive center is like a landing pad for all these beautiful creatures that want to come down and feed. So echinacea, a great perennial plant for pollinators. Now, you've seen this one recently, too. I saw it in the background of your video. It actually gave me a lot of inspiration. Rudbeckias, black-eyed Susans.
Oh, right.
I love this plant. And I think they're related a bit to Echinacea.
Well, they've
been hybridized.
There's a crossover. The
Echibeckias, yeah. So similar, but just beautiful, hardy plant. I mean, they kind of have a daisy sunflower kind of look to them with that big dark center and the bright yellow petals out there. I mean, they just stand out for sure. I like just to look at them, enjoy them, but to know that the pollinators also appreciate them, that's a winner. And I'd say probably some of the last few for perennials. I mean, of course, your sages, all your salvias, your yarrow, right? We've talked about the yarrows on here. The yarrow, the Achillea, has these beautiful landing pads, usually yellow, but you can get other varieties. They have some native varieties as well that are white. And the flowers,
like a landing pad of a bunch of little flowers.
Yep, it's all flattens out, little clusters of flowers that are all kind of hanging out together. And so the butterflies and the bees, whatnot, can just land and just hover down, have a nice little landing, have a lunch, and then get on the go. So I love the yarrow we have in our school garden, and they're fantastic. Love them. Hard to kill, easy to grow.
There we go.
That's a win. One that's actually, if you get some afternoon shade, or if you're in a garden, you're like, man, I get so much shade. I don't get a lot of flowers. Consider fuchsia. If you have some morning sun and a bit of afternoon shade, fuchsias are gorgeous, and they're really cool and they're great to watch the hummingbirds come and drink from them, because just like a flowering maple, the albutilon, the petals, the flowers kind of hang down. And so the birds have to kind of hover and then point their beak straight to the sky and then drink upwards. It's awesome. So I love fuchsias. They're a fantastic one. And the last one, this was an honorable mention from our producer, Greg Gayton, the original garden guy. He's like, you got to put this on there. This one is just a no-brainer when it comes to bringing pollinators. And he's talking about catmint.
Okay.
Catmint, perennial plant. You can put it in containers or give it a bit of space, but really hardy plant once it gets established. And it just, like I said, is an absolute beast when it comes to bringing in the pollinators.
Oh, I've seen this. I had to Google that one too. Sorry, I don't know all of these, but catmint is pretty. This is purple.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like lavender from afar, but it's actually quite a unique stem of vertical flowers. That's pretty cool.
Kind of like the silvery, kind of bluish leaves.
I like that.
Yeah, they're really cool. Catmint, or Nepeta, as the scientists say.
Okay.
A great plant. Just a great plant.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much. Those are cool plants. What is the next category?
All right, Austin. So the next category is going to be shrubs.
Okay.
Even the larger plants can be great at attracting these pollinators. So my first is a California native. You know we love that. The natives, anywhere you can put a native in your garden, if you're capable, do it, because they are cool, especially if you're trying to feed the pollinators. Of course, right plant, right place.
Sure.
You're right.
So wait, hold on. So not all natives are good in the sun?
Well, yeah, imagine you planted a native shade-loving plant in full sun, right?
Okay.
Or you planted a bog plant. So California has a lot of different biomes and environments and conditions. But we love our natives. We want to support our native species as much as possible. And this one just happens to be a native.
Okay.
I'm talking about the California lilac. also known as Ceanothus. This one attracts bees, hummingbirds. It's an evergreen. They have this beautiful blue flowers, clusters of them. And oftentimes you can get them, they'll actually be blooming at times of the year when other plants really aren't blooming. So sometimes you'll get them blooming in the wintertime. Pretty cool stuff. And they are drought tolerant as can be. Once established, they're fantastic. I love them. They're just great. California lilac. And one that's kind of similar to them that I also think is just worth mentioning is Manzanitas. We've seen them all over. There's a lot of different varieties to choose from.
I think I remember the Latin name or the botanical name.
Yeah?
Arctostaphylos.
Sounds good to me.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Winner. Yeah, Arctostaphylos, Manzanitas. You can get them as ground covers as well. Smaller shrubs, larger shrubs. You can even train them in,
We saw it as a tree.
Oh, yeah, multi-trunk.
Cool.
God, it was so beautiful. But, they have the red stems with the peely bark, that kind of a dark emerald green leaf, and little flowers on there. But you know what? They're great for pollinators.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that.
Bottle brush, Austin.
Ooh.
Bottle brush. My neighbor has these in a few at his house, and they're gorgeous. They bloom for a long time, and hummingbirds and bees and all the other different creatures, they go crazy for it.
Yeah, that has such a weird looking flower too. It literally looks like a brush, like
you could clean out like a 2-inch pipe with it or something.
Yeah, all those little tiny red bits to it. It's such a weird
like fiber
thing.
optic cable, right? They're red with a little tip of the yellow on it, and it's really cool. They're beautiful, rugged plants, and they're just great. And another one that kind of is in that same line, this is also, I'm going to end on this when it comes to shrubs, Austin. This is a California native plant. Bees, birds are deep into this one, and I'm talking about toyon.
Toyon.
Okay. Yep. I won't toy with you. Okay. But I will. Toyons.
What is toyon?
Toyon is just a really hardy. It can be a larger growing shrub eventually, but they're just rugged. Like I said, it's a native plant. Once it's rooted in, man, it's pretty drought tolerant compared to some other plants that we've talked about in the past. And so I love it. Just a good plant to have. And if you're into natives, that's one to consider for sure.
Nice. Okay. Well, that rounds out our category of shrubs for pollinators. I love that. Now, what comes after shrubs?
Let me creep and crawl my way up this category. So vines.
Vines.
So the whole point of all these different categories is just for us to remember that you can attract pollinators
in so many ways.
In so many different ways. Right, and so for everything, so this category vines. Who'd have thought?
Okay.
Your vines. So trumpet vine is one that blooms really heavily. Clematis. I know you've seen some of that. What are your thoughts on clematis,
Clematis.
Dude?
I didn't really know it till a little while back. We did the Rose Garden tour with Linda Knowles, and we put out that YouTube video.
Beautifully done, by the way, Austin.
Great. Thank you, sir. But really, it was Linda's amazing work. And on the arbors, the very large arbors, there was many trailing or climbing roses, but at one of them, she featured clematis. And it was stunning. I couldn't help but look at it every time I walked through there.
That purpley blue.
Sort of a very beautiful color, but also interesting and large flowers.
Like a massive, hand-sized star.
Yeah.
That is just bluish purple and just beautiful.
It's stuck in my mind for sure. And now, if I could grow one, I would. Clematis is cool.
And she used it was a really cool companion plant to those roses. They really kind of just popped together. It made it kind of seem seamless. Like the garden didn't seem so segmented.
No, it was beautiful.
And then the last vine I'm going to mention, although there's tons of vines, so I urge people, don't think these lists I'm giving are like definitive. There's so many more in every category to explore. So please get out there after this episode and go do your own research because there's a whole world out there to explore. But for me, passion flower.
Oh, for sure.
Those vines, the flowers are so intricate, so beautiful. They even produce edible fruit, but they're pretty cool. They're a great plant, and I just love those flowers.
I've seen that around here in my neighborhood. Around the corner, there's a house, and all along this fence is the passion vine completely taking it over. And I forget what time of year it is, but there's a certain time of year. I remember walking by and being completely stunned at how many caterpillars were completely covering all of the leaves of that passion vine. I think they were munching that down, getting ready to become butterflies.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. The number of caterpillars on that vine was insane. Yes, passion flower is cool.
Love it. And that's a great point that you bring up, and I'm glad you did, because part of attracting the pollinators is maybe adjusting our attitude towards insects and just our techniques of gardening. Now, when we're out in the garden and we're trying to produce some food that we're going to eat, like some broccoli or cabbage, and you notice some cabbage, worms on there and little caterpillars, you're spraying the BT, which is organic and it's, targets those caterpillars. But you just mentioned a vine covered in them.
Right.
But it's nice to kind of have plants in your garden that you're growing for the pollinators. And if you're growing them for the pollinators, then let them be for the pollinators.
Oh, right.
So don't worry about spraying that kind of plant.
Right.
Because just know that, hey, it's okay. You're going to take within reason, but it's okay because that's the whole point of that plant or that area of your garden is to support the wildlife. Then that is part of the ecosystem.
I wonder what kind of butterflies those were, but they were very happy there, and it was a good thing they were there. Yeah, I wouldn't want somebody to come and start spraying all those caterpillars.
Well, we have so many cool plants and moths and butterflies in California where you do have these plants that have the host plant. You've got, your milkweed. I mean, the greatest example of all is milkweed and monarchs.
Right.
You get your native milkweed going. You get your monarchs migrating through. It's the only plant that they will lay their eggs on. The caterpillars hatch. They eat the toxic leaves. They can withstand it. And then they are now toxic from the rest of their life as they transfer from a caterpillar into a butterfly.
Oh, I didn't really know that.
Isn't that cool?
That is super cool.
They can tolerate it.
That's the narrow leaf, right? That we want to promote.
Yeah, you want that. Yeah, you want those native varieties for sure. But it's kind of cool that where you have these plants and these animals that have co-evolved to kind of live, and it's so cool. I love it.
Right on. Okay. Well, yeah, vines is super cool, and yeah, passion flower and clematis. Yeah, I think I really like that category. That's a cool one.
Vines are cool. Vines are great too if you're on a patio and you don't have space. Then grow them up an obelisk or something. You can get, you just like a little teepee out of out of bamboo or whatever.
Well, I like when people have the cable across the fence or something that is like a little foothold for the vine to grow along.
Make a little area. Yeah, I've seen that online. That's pretty cool. You can get creative. Vines are awesome. And like I said, you can have a big, large fence that you need to cover, or you might have just a pot up and you're just doing a container and you're going to do a vertical grow. It's so cool. So before we get to the trees, I got to talk about herbs because I feel like this is a section. If you grow a proper herb garden, it actually doubles as a pollinator garden. And let me explain. So basil, mint, rosemary, sage, oregano, and thyme.
Those are all delicious herbs.
Delicious herbs, right? Make your food taste amazing. Smell so good. I love food that just has flavor, right?
Yeah.
You ever just taste something, you go, there's actual life in this.
Flavor.
What's going on? Where's the chemicals?
Take me to Flavor Town.
Yes, thank you. All right, Guy Fieri over here. But no, they are amazing at attracting pollinators. So all the ones basil, mint, rosemary, sage, oregano, thyme, those are fantastic. And you can do these in containers. You can do them in the ground. They are just, like I say this word a lot. I mean, you have to drink your cup of lemonade every time I say it. These are bee magnets. They literally just they just draw them in. I noticed that with the basil. If I have some basil that I just let bolt, and I haven't pruned it, just the creatures, man.
Can I ask you about that? The bolting, because I know that's the basil hits a point, for me at least, in the heat where it bolts. I can't stop it from bolting.
Prune it.
And, just prune it.
Prune it.
But if I start eating the leaves, they don't taste as good. And I just end up just letting it bolt.
That's fine too.
Okay.
Because I'll let some bolt just for that reason. That's another reason why I also plant basil kind of succession. So I'll plant some, wait a few weeks, plant a little bit more. So you kind of always have some in a different stage. But if it's prematurely bolting, which is totally normal, especially when things are getting warm like they are,
right?
Just prune them back.
Okay.
And then when it flushes out with new growth, that should not be as bitter. It should be nice and sweet and delicious.
Got it. Okay. Now, is the same thing true for the other herbs you mentioned, like mint, rosemary? Do they do that similar type of bolting behavior?
Well, some of them, they do. Like thyme, when it bolts, you kind of want that because that's when they're actually going to be bringing in all the pollinators. So you actually encourage the bolting in that regard. But no, you can harvest it as they grow. Because with them, some of those are hard herbs, right? So your rosemary, your thyme, those are going to be your hard herbs, like a perennial style. Whereas basil's more of like a cilantro. It's a soft herb.
Right.
But all of them, once they do go into flower, I mean, the bees are going to find it.
Awesome.
So either way, so you can keep harvesting it and enjoy it. And then if it goes to flower, that's going to happen. And don't even worry about it. Just enjoy it.
Awesome. I'm just thinking about it because I'm growing basil and mint right now. And I'm just thinking about how I let that happen.
The biggest beginner's guide to mint growing.
Container.
Yeah, ding, ding, yes. Containerize it. Just always containerize your mint. unless you live somewhere where you're like, I don't care about anything.
No, 'cause
it just
really
spreads wild. We had some just grow wild from when I was a kid, from our neighbor's side of the house underneath the fence, and then it was like years of just digging out wild mint. But no, just mint's fantastic. Just keep it in a container.
Got it.
And you'll reduce some headache.
Okay, so you kind of teased the last category,
Yes.
and that's trees. And I guess I don't often think about trees as being here for pollinators, but of course, all of our fruiting trees are gonna need pollinators.
That's a great point, because the fruit comes from a flower, right?
Right.
So actually on the list is flowering cherries, but really all of those fruiting trees do produce blossoms at the end, in the early spring. So, but a flowering cherry or any of the prunus varieties, that's the whole category of your plums, your apricots, your
what is
peaches.
It called?
Prunus.
Prunus. Oh,
So that's
okay.
that's the genus for. That's the genus for like plums and apricots and nectarines and peaches and all that, pluots and apriums.
Cool.
All of our friends at Zager Genetics, they know what a good prunus is for sure. But yeah, just like a flowering cherry, beautiful. Like I said, at the end of winter, they're going to pop and provide some instant food for some pollinators right at the beginning of the season. A nice tree that is really interesting is Rudbeckia. There are varieties of that you can get your hands on, and they're great for pollinators as well. Citrus trees. I talk about it all the time. I love citrus for so many different reasons, and one of them being is they are just great at feeding bees. The bees love them. Ours bloomed really heavily this spring, and it's just now I'm just wringing my hands, just waiting for harvest. So it's going to be a sweet winter. The mandarins, the oranges. Actually, I've got some limes at my house. I planted a lime tree. Dude, in 1 year, it is so huge.
Really?
But I'm keeping it like 5 feet tall and a few feet wide. But it sprung up like a weed. It was awesome.
Oh, cool.
Loved it. So citrus trees, just in general, are great for pollinators, and they have the benefit of having delicious fruit. Now, last but not least, one of my favorite trees just to grow in general. We have them at the school garden. It's oddly enough, it's in the same family as peas.
Oh,
right?
Weird.
Yeah. So it's a legumaceae. And I'm talking about red buds.
Oh, you love red buds.
Which is a funny name because their flowers are purple and kind of pink.
Oh, really?
But the red buds are great trees. You can get a native red bud. You can get a non-native red bud. Both are awesome. For me, both have grown with relatively similar care, with similar results, meaning I don't have to inundate them with water all the time. It's been years now, so they're well established. I give them a few soaks as needed in the warm season, but other than that, they don't really get too much attention.
And is that the eastern versus the western red bud?
Yeah, I grow one of each. We grow each, and they just look a little different, but they're both are beautiful. And like I said, for us, I think the western one's a little bit more climate adapted for us, obviously. But honestly, both have received kind of brutal care, or not brutal, but just limited.
Yeah.
Where it's just like I don't want to baby them too much, and
they're both doing well.
They're beautiful, and they don't grow massive. So if you want like a smaller to medium sized tree, you can get them in a single trunk, what the industry folks call a standard. Okay. That's another term of the day. That's like learning botanical. Yeah, a standard is just a single trunk tree. But then what I also love is the red buds when they're in a multi-trunk tree. So they have multiple trunks. You kind of prune them up so you get a nice canopy so you can stare at those trunks. Some people do uplighting on them at night and they just look marvelous. Ooh. But a beautiful tree, really difficult to kill once it's going. And like I said, the native creatures just go gaga for it. They love it. So tons of flowers. And I've even eaten the flowers myself.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
Yeah,
you said
they're edible.
They taste okay.
They taste fine. Yeah, they don't taste like anything. As far as flowers go, they're kind of like neutral. They're not too bad. But all in all, bring these pollinators into your garden, whether it's by tree, by an herb garden, vines, shrubs, perennials, annual, whatever it is. You can. There's plants out there for your garden, whatever your situation is. Whether you have a patio, backyard, whatever you have, shade, sun. There are flowers and plants, trees and shrubs out there that can actually have a massive benefit to not just you, but to nature around you. And if you're going to garden, for me, one of the biggest benefits, we always talk about all the reasons why people garden, why they get out there and do it. But to me, one of the biggest sensations of pride or joy or just an acknowledgement of, hey, that was a good return on investment right there, is when I've planted just simple plants, some sages, some lavenders, some bulbine frutuscens, that's the Cape balsam. Once you see these animals, the bees, the butterflies, the birds, hummingbirds, and everything else, you start seeing them visit your garden, and it's just like a gift from Mother Nature. It's like you just love it, and it's like you can take a moment, you see them over there feeding, they're eating, and they would not have had that. So let's get after it and give them an extra meal or two.
Cool. All right. I love that. Thank you so much, Kevin. I just have one last question.
Oh, yeah.
We talked briefly about the roses when the clematis came up.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering, where do roses fit into here?
That goes without saying.
Oh, it
should
does.
start
Okay.
every episode. Roses are wonderful. We love
roses.
No, but yeah, the same thing. In my garden, roses, man, the bees are going right to them.
Right, okay.
They have these big, massive blossoms that are just like beacons, right? We've talked to the scientists. We know about the nectar guides. So roses are obviously, we love roses. I think it's great. And one thing, to think about if you are going to start selecting different plants, think about when they bloom. Because you want to try to provide as much food throughout the year as you possibly can. So if you can have plants that bloom, spring, summer, fall, and even get some that bloom in the winter, all the better.
Cool. Right on. All right. Thank you so much for this, Kevin. I'm hyped up on pollinators. I hope everyone is inspired to plant something different and unique. Maybe you learned a new plant today and you want to check it out and give it a shot. That would be incredible. Of course, share with us your growing journey. Connect with us on our Facebook group, the Green Acres Garden podcast group on Facebook.
Show us your pollinator gardens, please.
Do that. We'd love to see photos, videos, anything that's happening in your garden. Share it with us. We love that. Kevin, go ahead and take us out.
Man, I love this. This was a great episode, Austin.
Yeah.
So much fun talking about that. So we want more plants, more flowers, a little less spraying, and a little more joy, garden friends.
There we go.
So I hope you all had a great week. I want to thank anybody listening to this. Thank you so much. We so much appreciate it. We love doing this, and we love having you here. So please come back next week for some more garden fun. Until then, friends, get out there in that garden, get some dirt underneath those nails, and we'll see you next time. Happy gardening to you all, and please, never stop growing.